Welcome back to Sista Brunch, the podcast all about Black women and gender-expansive people thriving in entertainment and media. I am your host, Fanchon Cox. Sista Brunch traveled to New Orleans for the Essence Film Festival this summer, where we had the amazing opportunity to interview incredibly talented filmmakers and writers and actors about their craft. In these next few episodes, you'll be hearing our conversations live from the Essence Film Festival's Filmmaker Lounge.
Hi, everyone. My name is Farida Abdul-Wahab, and I'm a TV executive and associate producer of the Sista Brunch podcast. Today, I am here with D'Angela Proctor, who is, we're going to get into it because you can't call it a jack of all trades. She's more a master of all, if I must say. And she is, well, from what I heard, attorney turned TV executive turned director. Am I missing anything in that lineup?
Well, I am a entrepreneur turned attorney.
Okay. Ooh, okay.
Returned to being an entrepreneur,
Okay.
to being a filmmaker and a content creator, to then being a television executive, and then a studio executive, and then a C-suite executive turned director.
Listen. That's amazing, and that's very inspirational. And as much as I want to dive into your entire story and how we got along that way, I know you recently had your directorial debut where you directed Keyshia Cole's film on Lifetime, Keyshia Cole, This Is My Story.
Yes, ma'am.
On Lifetime. So we wanted to talk more about that and how your directorial debut has been, how your transition has been. And yeah, tell us about that journey and what made you make that pivot from everything else to now being a director.
Well, I mean, I'd like to say that it was planned, but it was not. I had been working on the development of the Keyshia Cole story with Keyshia and with the amazing writer Angelica Sherry. And when it was time to select a director, it was very important to me for it to be a African-American woman director. Right. But there were so many people who were working. There were so many people. Like, I provided the network, I think, a list of 30 different people with, whether they were DGA or not, whether they were available or not, what types of projects they had worked on previously. But none of them quite fit the bill. Either they were DGA and this was a non-DGA project, right, or they were working, or their materials didn't warrant the opportunity, right, things like that, or, and a host of other reasons not worth going into here. But so the network introduced both Keyshia and I to a wonderful director named Manu Boer. And he's a French man, and he's been in the States for a while directing, wonderful person. And, this is no slight against him, but I was just like, no. Right. I was like, no. Yeah. And by the way, no. So, and I knew that, working with an artist who is playing herself, and an artist that I had worked with for a year or more in developing this story, I knew that no matter who we hired, no matter who the person was, that when the director gave her certain direction, she would look to me to see if it was good, or should she listen, or what have you, or she would be maybe resistant, and she'll stop them in their tracks and say, D'Angela. So I knew that would happen no matter who the director was. But then I also knew that if the director didn't have the right cultural sensitivities for the project or the cultural exposure to this project, that as the producer, I would be doing hair, makeup, wardrobe, locations, authenticity check, all of these things that, yes, it's part of my job, but a lot of the things, depending on the timing of them and the depth of them, did not fall inside of my purview. Right. And I said, well, if I'm going to be co-directing, then I should be co-directing. And that's what happened.
Okay. Did you enjoy it? And yes, did you enjoy it? And it's something you say you want to do it again, or?
Well, I absolutely need to do it again.
Okay.
I need to do it again for a host of reasons. I need to do it again so that I am directing something that did not have a lot of the elements that this project had.
Okay.
So this one had a the lead actress playing herself.
Okay. Okay.
You have a network with Desires. I had to co-direct. I had to work with not one but two production services companies on the
Right.
project. There were so many things that I would like to not have happen in a next iteration of me directing.
Where you could just focus
So-
more on solely directing.
And solely directing and controlling what the narrative is, right?
Okay,
Controlling
gotcha.
truly controlling what the story is, truly being the vision of the story from top to bottom. I was
Right.
that to some degree with Keyshia, certainly, but I need something that I can just kind of sink my teeth into. I don't want any questions about who did what. I don't need
Right.
any questions about, well, who inspired that or who made that decision. All of them are mine.
Right. Okay. That sounds good. In spirit of this weekend, we would like to ask you, as we honor and celebrate so many of our Black icons this weekend, we are reminded of the importance of legacy and the people we come from. Can you tell us about an early memory you had of learning about Black history that made you feel more confident or that more was possible for you?
Oh, wow. I went to Spelman College, so
That says it all.
so it's kind of like in and of itself, that experience, being exposed to Spelman and my classmates and my professors. And Dr. Jonetta Cole was the president at the time. We started at the same time. That's why we call her sister president. Our class calls her sister president. But, at Spelman, you are required to attend chapel. I don't know if a lot of people know that, but you have to go to chapel. And
I didn't
at
know that.
chapel, there are all these amazing speakers. So I was exposed to people like Marian Wright Edelman, or exposed to lawyers and doctors and politicians and public servants, where you are taught that your existence on this planet needs to be paid for in your service.
Gotcha. So to follow up with that question, this wouldn't be Sista Brunch if we didn't ask this signature question, which is, you're sitting down to a Sista Brunch with your younger self. What are you eating? What are you both drinking? And what do you tell her?
What am I eating? Oh, well,
What are you eating, drinking?
okay,
and,
well, it's gumbo.
Okay, gotcha.
In honor of us being in New Orleans right now.
Right.
Well, actually, I'm from Texas,
Okay.
and my favorite food is a good bowl of gumbo, but it
Gotcha,
has to
okay.
be right. So I would say seafood gumbo with okra.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's
some-
everyone
yeah,
they
exactly.
liking that.
So that's number one. For a cocktail, it doesn't have to be a cocktail, right? It can be any beverage.
Yeah, any beverage, it could be. But
It could be a cocktail.
It could be, yeah.
I'm a tequila girl. So, anything with tequila, a good Paloma or
Okay.
a really amazing margarita with the right amount of sweetness, splash of orange juice to balance it.
Okay.
It's great. And what would I talk to her about? Or what
Would
would
you
I
tell
share
her,
with
like
her?
a piece of advice you would share with her, like something you know now that you didn't know then that you want to share with her?
Well, I would share with her some things that I have to tell myself every day, today
What's that?
even. And, oh goodness, it's that I am enough and that I deserve all the good things,
Right.
right? I deserve all of the good things. And most importantly, I would tell her that ambition and motivation, that those aren't bad things. It's okay. It's okay to be those things. That's what I would tell her.
I have a follow-up. Did someone
Okay.
maybe put it in your head growing up that ambition is bad or motivation? Like,
Well, I'm a good Christian girl and was
Okay.
born and raised in the church, in the Baptist church in the South, more specifically. And my grandfather was the pastor of our church. And I would say that there's a dogma around success that, I think in the past, I would say 15 years or so, there's been these prosperity ministries that have popped up. But when I was growing up, prosperity ministry was not, the prosperity ministries were not welcomed.
okay.
And so I've always been taught, if you do the work, put your head down, someone will see it, good things will happen, God will bless you, and things like that. But in this day and age, if you're not talking about it, if you're doing it and you're not talking about it and
Then
you're
you're
not
not
controlling
doing
your
it.
narrative, are you really doing it?
Right.
Yeah.
So prosperity ministry, can you just, for people who are
Right.
not familiar, what is that?
So the prosperity ministry can be that if you tithe and if you praise God and
okay.
if you are a good Christian, that God will provide.
Gotcha.
Right, and that you can have, like, his riches are bountiful, so
Abundant, yeah.
and they're there and they're available for you. Right, when I was coming up, it was about humility.
Gotcha.
Right,
Okay.
and so there can be a disconnect between being humble and being confident.
Gotcha. To bring it back to your directorial debut, can you please share with us what was one of your most challenging moments on directing your feature, and also what was one of your most joyful, greater moments?
The thing about production is you're only as good as your prep time. And the most challenging thing about the movie on a daily basis would have been some of the times when we went to a set that we've not even tech scouted before. Right, like going into a set cold.
Right.
That would be the most challenging. And then getting on set when you did have a tech scout, but you didn't have that many options for locations, and you're like, you know what, I can make it work.
Right.
You think that in your head, and then you get there, and there's something about when those cameras start coming up, when they start like laying the
Right.
cables.
Yeah.
When they start laying the cables, it's like, oh, this is about to be a hot set. It's a real location now. And it is honestly and truly, you have this, it's like a dread. It's like a knowing where you're like, you know what? This is not the right place. Give me 5 minutes and let me figure it out. Then you go into the corner, and for me, my practice is prayer. And it's like, okay, give me something.
Right.
Right? Like I'm looking around. What's the perfect place? What's the, where should we calibrate? What should we do to make this work? And so those would be the most challenging parts, when you're literally in a place where the words are on the paper, you have the talent there, but the environment isn't right. It's not conducive for what you're trying to do.
So,
And it's just like this beautiful yellow wall here.
yeah.
This podcast would not look great if we were on that brick, gray, ugly wall
Right.
over there. It just
Right.
wouldn't look right. It's part of the canvas.
Right.
And so I would say that those were the most challenging moments, which, by the way, if you're not prepared, makes your day longer.
Right.
Right. So the most challenging day would have been our last shoot night, where we were literally on set for 22 hours. 22 hours, like a full day, sun coming up and everything. Like it was
And no sleep.
no sleep. But here's the rub.
Wow.
That was also the most rewarding, because we figured it out. We did 6 locations in one, maybe I might be sizing it a little bit. Maybe, well, no, I'm just going to
Yeah.
add them up.
I feel you.
Nightclub 1,
Uh-huh.
Nightclub 2, which was a salsa club. So they're two
Okay.
different clubs.
In one location.
Spoken word clubs.
3.
We're 3.
Okay.
And then you have the dressing room,
Okay.
where some of the stuff happened.
4.
So that's 4 locations in one night.
Wow.
And it was raining. And everyone was exhausted. So that was the most rewarding and most challenging night, I think,
Okay.
that I've had as a director. And then, then at the
And
end
then.
of the night, no, seriously, at the end of the night, you're like, everybody's celebrating. You're so tired. It's hard to
Right.
celebrate.
Right.
But it was a good experience,
good.
for sure.
So, with all of that, you say you pray, you get your mind together. Is there anyone on set that you lean on that gives you your support? Like, were you able to like pick your DP or assistant, or like, because I feel like this is a very collaborative industry, and we often, find our tribe and create with them. So, who was that for you, or who do you tend to like? I need this in my corner because this is who or what is going to help me, create the best work possible.
I mean, obviously, you have a team, right? You have a DP. I had a co-director. I had The DP is amazing, young guy, Roger Alexander. You have your, your keys, your production designer, you have your wardrobe. But when you're making a movie of this magnitude, the limited amount of prep days, the limited amount of shoot days. By the way, we shot this movie in 15 days. So you're talking about 17 years of a person's life, right?
In 15
You're talking
days.
about all those hair changes. Watch the movie and count the hair changes.
I will.
Right? You're talking about all of these things in such a truncated, small period of time. And you're dealing with people who do these movies like this all the time.
Right.
Right, because it's a production services company. They
Right.
stick with the kind of the same people. So they're accustomed to, well, sometimes you get
Turning
stuff,
it out,
sometimes
yeah.
you don't. You guys are going to figure it out.
Right.
But as the director and the producer, that cannot be my resolve. Like, I
Right.
have to push because I want this to be elevated. I don't want it to be, just another movie. Like, and this
Correct,
is Keyshia's life.
Right.
Right? This is her life that we're responsible for. And so in that regard, you have to be the bull in the china closet, so to speak, and just keep making sure that people show up and do more than what they're accustomed to doing.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us.
You're
Ladies and
welcome.
gentlemen, this is D'Angela Proctor. Please go and watch Keyshia Cole. This is My Life on Lifetime or Hulu if you have it. And I am Farida Abdul-Wahab. Follow Sista Brunch, Sista Brunch Podcast on Instagram, and you can find us also at sistabrunch.com.